series about to take place.
Papa.
He's in Times Square in New York in 1963. What is it, Jahari? Okay. Okay. All right. Again, nice candid photo. All right, next please. A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. That's a very common phrase, and he's credited with saying that. I don't know if he said that first, but according to the book, he expressed that. Another very relevant, very powerful quote. Next. Now this is probably my favorite picture. And this is why we really try to reach out, particularly to our young men. I want you all to see, just please absorb the way the young men are dressed. Think of the way they're dressed. This is a restaurant at Temple 7 in 1963. It is as striking as Kamara said, we've gone backwards. Okay, look at the way they're dressed. These men are, he may even be a teenager. These teenager or early 20s. He looks like Michael Irvin to me for some reason. Anyway. So you see the way the young men dignify themselves. It's quite a striking, and he looks like that one Puerto Rican actor to me. You know, one played in School Days.
Giancarlo.
Yeah, he looks like him to me. He looks like Michael Irvin. He looks like the other. I think he's had the one biracial man in Do the Right Thing. Plays in a lot of Spike Lee's movies. You know what I'm talking about. But in any case, they just kind of favor some contemporary men. But I think it's a very powerful photo in a restaurant. Okay, next.
Yeah.
Okay, now to emphasize what Kamara stressed, and Sister Nefertiti also stressed, Malcolm dealt with the issue. One thing that's very important to understand about Malcolm. He wasn't the minion of anyone. No network paid him. The Democratic Party didn't pay him. The Republican Party didn't pay him. The various Warner Brothers and all the various networks didn't pay him. He was, as we'll hear expressed even more in the other tier of my presentation, to see how free Malcolm was. Now this is him holding up a newspaper that says, I don't know if you can read it for you, 7 unarmed Negroes shot in cold blood by Los Angeles police. 7 unarmed. You can see that recent history is repeating itself. We're still having those same problems today, right?
Yes.
We're having those same problems today. This is Los Angeles, 1963. Next. Okay, another candid photo of Malcolm. Now, those who've seen it, don't say anything, please. Those who have not seen the presentation, you recognize the young man on the far right. You want to recognize him? If you haven't seen it, please nobody yell out who's seen it.
Jahari. He's raising his hand.
Well, I think you know already, Jahari. You already know. Anyone recognize him?
Is that the name right there at the bottom?
No, that's just who took the photo.
Oh, okay.
1963, Robert L. Higgins. That's just who took the photo. Nobody recognizes him?
9.
Louis?
Farrakhan. Oh, I thought you was.
Yeah, you all remain perfectly silent. Louis Farrakhan. Don't see the resemblance for him till today? I know he's much older, but actually he still looks pretty youthful today. But yes, that's Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan. Okay? All right. Okay, next please. I, for one, believe that if you give people a thorough understanding of what confronts them and the basic causes that produce it, they'll create their own program. And when the people create a program, you get action. Very powerful quote, too, about self-reliance, self-sufficiency. Okay, very good. Okay, next, please. I really like this photo. I put the head in come rain, sleet, or snow. He's delivering his message despite the inclement weather. Okay, so very good, candid photo. And his brother holding the umbrella for him to keep him from the elements. Okay, next. Very heartwarming picture. Malcolm X with his family at home in East Elmhurst, Queens, with daughter Kabila and Atala, 1963. Well, it looks like Kiani. I'm sorry I have to say it. Does she look like? Does she look like Kiani? She does look like Kiani. Kiani, is this your twin? She does, doesn't she?
Yes, he does.
She looks just like Malcolm X. She looks exactly like Malcolm. And she looks like Kiani. All right, next.
That's a good one.
Malcolm X with. You all know who this. Don't no one else say anything.
Cassius Clay.
Otherwise known as
Malcolm.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, yeah.
Malcolm X with Cassius Clay at the Fighters Miami training camp with wife Betty and daughters. Now these are Malcolm X's, all Malcolm X's daughters. And Muhammad Ali is holding one of his daughters. Let me share a quick story, a real heartwarming story about Muhammad Ali. Right after he went through transition. I don't know if you all know who Jim Lampley is. Anyone know who he is? He's a boxing commentator. The premier boxing commentator in boxing for the last 30 plus years. If you know boxing or HBO sports, you know Jim Lampley. He's the voice of boxing for 30 plus years. But when Jim Lampley was just starting out, he was in his maybe mid-20s, late 20s. They were, I don't know if it was in New York or not, but he was on location. You know, they want to get the interviews with the fighters and whatnot. So he's at the hotel with Muhammad Ali. And he had his child with him, but his wife needed him for something. That was an emergency that she had. And it was going to be difficult for him to do that with the newborn child. Now, this is Muhammad Ali. This really tells you a lot about the difference between black men today. And he told Jim, he said, Jim, you know how smooth Muhammad Ali was. Hey, Jim, go ahead, man. Go do what you got to do. He said, listen, I'll watch your daughter. Now, this is a newborn, a little bitty baby. Jim Lampley could barely hold back the tears while he was telling it. He said, Muhammad Ali could see that he was rattled. He was flustered. He didn't know what to do. Because he couldn't really bring the baby with him and tend to the matter. He wanted to be there to get the interview and the scoop from Muhammad Ali. He said, listen, I'll watch your child. So there's Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world. Watching not only a baby, but to show you how he transcended race. And we just, a little white baby too. He said, go on, he could have just told him, go and do whatever you have to do, you find a way. But Jim Lampley, you can go to YouTube and see the video. He's sitting there, he's holding back the tears right on the heels of Muhammad Ali's death, telling his personal story about his experience with Muhammad Ali. So that's a very heartwarming, divine expression for him to do him such a favor. Okay, next slide. This is a press conference, National Memorial African Bookstore. Those are almost extinct nowadays, and they started to become extinct in the early 2000s. But black bookstores were a big part of the community. But with the online, everything online now, you see fewer and fewer. I was well affiliated with the last one at East St. Louis. It was right on State Street, right next to the Senior Citizen. It's called the Knowledge Center. Right next to the Senior Citizen building in East St. Louis. So they are very rare, but this is one from 1964. Okay, next. Now, these are images they don't want you to see again. They want you to think that Malcolm and Martin were at one another's throats. But you can't always, as they say, sip the Kool-Aid or buy the propaganda. They're usually 99% of the time there's more to the story than what the nations give us.
Right.
Always is. Malcolm X and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. had their only meeting by chance on Capitol Hill, March 26, 1964. Now, see, I'm sensitive to words. Now, it could be, I don't know, but that's by chance. They want to make it seem like they didn't have any real fellowship. It's just by chance they ran into. Probably not by chance the two of them running into each other.
Right.
But I'm sensitive with words, so I don't accept that that's necessarily the case. But see, they use words like that to prevent you from thinking that there's any real attempt for them to fellowship. Oh, they just happened to run into each other. They didn't really plan to see each other. So that may not be the case. Okay, next. Dr. King wants the same thing I want. Freedom. Now, you don't see that quote publicized by our brother Malcolm X. Okay. Next, please. I want Dr. King to know that I didn't come to Selma to make his job difficult. I really did come thinking I could make it easier. If the white people realize what the alternative is, perhaps they will be more willing to hear Dr. King. This is in a conversation with Mrs. Coretta Scott King. Did anybody see the movie Selma? Raise your hand if you saw it, please. Oh, you haven't seen it, Roz? When you get a chance, you should see it.
I never seen it.
Have you seen it, Margie? Okay. Now, do you recall the young man who played Malcolm X? Recall seeing him in the prison with talking to Coretta Scott King? Recall? Okay. Because that young man is a childhood friend of mine and my brother's. Been knowing we were in Head Start together, preschool together. He's 1 year younger than I am. His name is Nigel Terry, isn't it?
Terry.
Nigel Terry. He played Malcolm X. Amon, no, I just need you to have a seat, big boy, and pay attention to the program. So he played Malcolm X. He's been a lifelong friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
So, next slide, please. Okay. Another very candid picture of Malcolm. Where are you all? Where is he? Anybody
Egypt.
See it?
Egypt.
Egypt.
Pyramids.
September 1964. That's another aspect of Malcolm's life they don't like to promote. He considered himself an African in America. Okay? And that's one of several matters that caused a rift between he and the Nation of Islam. Just Nefertiti elucidates some of it. But they want to place our origins in what they call Asia. He accepted, which is just archaeological, natural fact, that our origins are African.
Exactly.
But the power and control might wane, might diminish if the truth was established. Right? So there's power behind taking us out of Africa. Okay? There's power in being considered the first. So they can put us in Israel. Okay? Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. And other regions. Then you can hold on to the power greater you can, being honest about where we're truly from. Come on.
Oh.
What you doing about program? That's okay, Your Honor.
It is like your computer. I think he wants to play the little games.
It's okay. It's all right. We all family here. It's all good. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's exploring.
He tried to explore the
Okay.
world.
So, again, another candid image. Another rare image of him. Okay, next.
They also changed his name.
Well, right.
Yeah.
He did. Yes, he did.
What was his name?
Well, hold on. We'll get into that. Sorry, you've been in the presentation.
Boy.
From July 9, 1964 to November 24, 1964, Malcolm X was on a second journey to Africa. On this trip, he saw a great deal more of Africa and his revolutionaries. During the beginning of the Freedom Summer in Mississippi, Malcolm was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, attending the African Summit Conference, a meeting of leaders from all over the continent. He called on the group to bring the cause of African Americans to the United Nations. Okay. Now, I'm just going to share this. It is my contention, my conviction, and conviction of others as well, so that one of the primary reasons, if not the primary reason they wanted him assassinated, is because he was going to bring America up on charges of crimes against humanity. And the fallout of that would have been enormous in terms of the economic fallout and all of the concessions that would have to be made. And he had, I don't know if you can get record of the document, but he had a case. This wasn't just him standing before a podium. He had this well documented. You know how intelligent Malcolm X was. He was going to have the United States brought up on charges of crimes against humanity, which is the largest crime you can commit in the world. They said, well, listen, this thing has some momentum. There were people who reviewed it and said, well, this has some merit to it. So that is our contention. Not everybody agrees on that, and that's fine. But it's my conviction that that's one of the, if not the primary reasons they wanted to get rid of him. Okay, next. Okay, another beautiful candid photo. That's his wife Betty Shabazz with his daughters while Malcolm was traveling to Africa in 1964. From left, it's Kabila, Gamila, Betty, Atala, and Ilyasa. Those are his 4 beautiful daughters. And you notice the map behind her here. Again, that's one of the divisions he had with the Nation of Islam. He wanted to assert his Africanness. Well, they were a lot more reluctant to assert Africanness because they're Muslims. Their homeland is Mecca. Their homeland is Saudi Arabia. Well, no, our homeland is Africa. No, our homeland is Saudi Arabia. Now listen, and I know this is recorded, I don't mind. Now, I have a lot of Muslim brothers, but shame on them. They know better than that.
That's right.
Let's just be real. They know better than that.
Yeah.
But you see the power of religion. They know good and well our homeland is not Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
No.
There's no archaeological, anthropological, geological, geographical evidence, nothing to suggest our origins or Saudi Arabia. So what they did is they got clever. They said, well, we're the Asiatic black men, which means the whole landmass was called Asia. So to try to expand it. But if you're not going to Buganda, which we now call Uganda, which is where the Nile starts, which is where the oldest 200,000-year-old fossil was found, then you're just not being honest about our origins.
So why would they not want to be honest about their origins?
Well, that's where their power lies, because they want the center of divinity and man to be in Saudi Arabia. Well, if you take it out of there, you have to start investigating the life, the culture, the themes, the belief system, and so forth from where we came from, and they may diverge with what you've established. People may start to get different concepts about the divinity of man. That's why Jerusalem is so important to the Jews and whatnot. Okay? So in a lesser sense, imagine someone trying to take Jackie Joyner Kersey out of East St. Louis since she was born in Belleville.
Exactly.
You see how much power Belleville would have? You know how much power they would have? Museums and people coming there and people talking about, I grew up next to her and whatnot. Wait a minute, she grew up in Belleville.
Right.
You take her out of East St. Louis, put her in O'Fallon somewhere. O'Fallon is lit now. O'Fallon is off the charts now. Jackie Joyner, Miles Davis from Fairview Heights. Wait a minute.
Right.
Hold up. You see, in a lesser sense.
Exactly.
Now you do that with religion, and you build a momentum over hundreds of years. You can see. You take us out of Africa and put us in the middle, what they call the Middle East.
Right.
So that's just a little rudimentary way of looking at it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. Good question. Okay. You know the bottom. Come all around. All right. Focus. One task right now. One task. This is Malcolm at a press conference after Malcolm returned from Mecca. And y'all listen to this. He was quizzed about the riots that took place in Harlem, as well as New Jersey, Chicago, and Philadelphia, while he was away. Well, he's away now. Some reporters even insinuated he was in some way responsible. Malcolm took the occasion to condemn U.S. policy. That's what I love about Malcolm. So they try to hold him responsible for riots while he's halfway across the globe. But I'm going to spin this, I'm going to flip the script on this. While you're trying to hold me responsible, I'm going to condemn the U.S. force policies in Africa, because I just got back from there and I see what you all are doing. See, this is the type of man he was.
Right.
Like Kamara expressed, like Sister Nefertiti expressed. You see, he's kind of having fun at their expense too. That's how you play the media. He didn't get emotional about it. He knew it's preposterous to hold him responsible. Or insinuate that he's responsible for riots in all these different cities. Well, while you on that note, let's talk about U.S. policy in Africa and how oppressive it is. Okay? So another little tidbit of his wisdom knowledge, his boldness, his boldness, his braveness, his boldness.
Right.
Okay. Malcolm now publicly referred to himself as El Hajj Malik El Shabazz on return from Mecca, May 1964. To his left is Charles 37X, Kenyatta, with his brother here. Okay, next please. Okay, this is one of several incidents, attacks on his life, attempts to assassinate him. Is Malcolm arriving home the day of the firebombing of his home in East Elmhurst, Queens, February 14, 1965. This is a powerful photo. This is it's called the moment. He's not acting. It's not a photo op.
Right.
This is the moment he finds out his house was firebombed. That is a powerful image. Like you said, Kamara, to endure these tragic situations, life on the line.
Right.
And his family receiving death threats off him. Betty would often tell him, they called her. They said they're going to do this and that to me and the kids. Numerous times.
Right.
Numerous times. But when you have become acquainted with your divine mission, nothing can stop it.
That's right.
That's why Rosalind, LaRon, Sister Donna, Margie, Kamara, Sister Nefertiti, that's why it's so important for us to continue.
Yes.
He sacrificed everything.
Yes, he did.
Everything. He had 4 daughters.
Yes.
He firebombing his home.
Mm.
Like Kamara said, he couldn't trust the government, which hardly any black person could, unless you were one of their minions. He couldn't trust his brothers either. It is very, very solemn. Very solemn.
Yeah.
Very solemn.
You know, that's just like the activists, some of the activists today, trying to, I know one group is trying to shut down the, on Hall Street, that prison on Hall Street. Because
Okay.
they said
The workhouse.
conditions. Yeah. So one of the ladies who's over there was saying that she's been getting death threats. You know, anytime you try to stand up for people of color so that, you know, administration can do the right thing to get it stopped, you know, they want to take your life out. You know, they just want to take your life.
That's right.
You know.
They do. And
it's been going on since even after slavery ended. Those people were not free.
right.
You know, this slavery was all about money. A lot of people think, no, it was to free us. But you wasn't free after slavery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you weren't free. So
Yes, ma'am.
this is just the same thing over and over again.
It is. It certainly is. And it is absolutely, it's pathetic. It's beyond pathetic.
That's
What triggers this racist mind? They are so sensitive to anything we do that it doesn't matter what we try to do to afford ourselves a little bit more comfort. They take it as so. There could be a black man lying in the street, bloody, dying, and the black folks rushed over him to try to resurrect him. They would get upset about it.
right.
Those conditions. What is it? Didn't 4 people die within the last couple of days or something like that from the conditions? So anything. But on the one hand, it shows us the vibration we carry. They know that if we are awakened in the least bit, that we can transform conditions.
Right.
Because when I say they, I'm telling the ones, they know what we did and what we were to
Right.
the world.
Right.
They know what the Moors were and did. They know what we're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So just the slightest opening of the door, opening of our minds, awakening, we can transform conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But in their ignorance, they don't realize that it's not about reversing the oppression, if you will, or becoming the oppressor and they become the oppressor. That's what their ignorance tells them. It's about creating global harmony, which they simply don't want.
Right.
They simply don't want. So on that note, we'll digress and we'll finish presentation. Next slide, please. And this is the last known portrait of Malcolm X, February 18, 1965. Okay, so you take a good look at our honorable brother Malcolm X. And we say to Malcolm X, love and harmony. Next slide, please. And once again, we must extend a special thank you to Sister Jennifer Tucker for providing the book Malcolm X, The Great Photographs. Again, a text by Thulani Davis. The photographs researched and edited by Howard Chapman. Okay, next slide. The Youth Improvement Club is a branch of New Age Truth of Missouri, which has been serving humanity in the St. Louis metropolitan area for over 40 years. Well, really, I should put 43 years on it now, because it's been since 1976, but I put this together about 3 years ago. We want to thank our cosmic brother Malcolm X for the sacrifice he made to help transform conditions, not only for blacks in America, but for all humanity. Thank you all.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, distinguished guests, foes, and friends. As you know, we are facing a devastating tragedy today, which we have been facing for over 400 years, the treatment of the American Negro. I am not here today to speak about the atrocities here on American soil. I am here to encourage the black man. We are kings of ancient Egypt. We cannot help anyone until we have helped ourselves. We must uplift the black woman to righteousness, for without our mother, I would not be speaking to you today. We must restore her dignity in such perilous times. We, the black man, must remember the power and the union of a black man and woman. I charge the black man with the duty to save and restore the black woman's mind, body, and soul by any means necessary. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
All right.